Hello, everyone. Today we are talking search, social websites, and AI. This is the time we come together to talk everything digital marketing, bring you up to speed with what we know in our specific profession. So I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and this is
Phelan with Sumer Digital Media. And can someone share this into the group? Because on this computer, I'm not
yeah.
able to do that.
Okay.
Uh,
And I'm
Okay.
Rena from Wheelworks Indie Media.
And I'm Greg McKinnon with Original 72 Creative.
You were cute. And today, it's really interesting. We're going to dive into Google leaks, social stuff. Let's take it off away with Rena because she's always over prepared.
Okay, that is quite a bit. I'm just going to hit some highlights and you guys can chime in if anything sounds interesting. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, which is really exciting, is that YouTube has brought out thumbnail tester. So you can upload your thumbnail into YouTube and it will tell you what it looked like in all the various configurations that you might want it for. So that's been great. It was supposed to roll out a couple of weeks ago. I haven't actually seen it on my account yet, but I will be signing in after this to find it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So, Fallon, you're going to share it over because you know how to do that better than me. So, if you could. And Rena, so YouTube thumbnail?
Yes.
Tell me
Mul-
more. What's going on?
It's a multivariate tester. So you put in your thumbnail and it tells you if it's going to work for all of the different device aspect ratios.
and also different ones. Because I know, like, Mr. Beast, who's the biggest YouTuber, he does multivariate testing with all his thumbnails because that's the biggest component. So if you can have someone
Yeah.
automating that rather than doing it manually, I'm sure
Yeah.
that a lot of YouTubers are going to try that where it's going to, because I've noticed if you pay attention to your subscribe feed, when it first launches a video, usually it'll be one and then they'll swap it out for a new one that they'll test within an hour to see, because the first hour is really the crucial time to try out different variants as it gets released.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's great.
So what you think is the funny face still shot before your video is not the best thing to use? Is that what I'm hearing?
It depends. It actually works really well in short form content. It ranks better, but I think if you're concerned about branding and the long form content, I think works pretty well with them.
As much as possible, I'd always advocate for people to have a specifically created image to represent whatever they're.
Oh, really? That's not so. The short form videos get higher click rate when there isn't a branded thumbnail.
Short
Oh.
form videos, or are you talking about short?
Form videos.
No shorts get covers. Shorts, they took covers away from
Yeah.
short.
Sorry, I'm not talking about YouTube in particular. I'm talking about video in general. So if you're putting it out on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, the research is suggesting that putting branded thumbnails on those is not really working.
Right.
No. Because it's a live situation, or it's meant to be a live situation. So people want to follow people who are on TikTok and Instagram Reels, that type of thing. But on YouTube, yeah, you can't put it automatically does something on YouTube for your shorts. And then when it comes to long form, I'm still using thumbnails for longer videos, regular videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I am too. So this sounds interesting to pay attention to. All right, we'll come back to any other news on YouTube.
Not on YouTube, but I have a lot more. If you
Yeah, come on.
There is a new piece of research out. I'll put the link in the comments regarding disabling social media comments and how that affects your audience. It's pretty interesting. Basically, I think we could probably all guess that people notice it and they don't like it. And the research is particular to influencers and individuals, celebrities, but I'm pretty sure it would translate quite well to brands in addition. So the idea of being on social media is being social. So if you're just posting your stuff and disabling comments or not getting back to comments, it's probably not great for your brand. It is a pretty interesting piece of research, so I highly recommend everybody read it.
Can you share a link to that after the live in the feed?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Nice.
Yeah, so that seems pretty straightforward. Yes.
Yes, we all love social stuff, and I think it's now a combination of search social websites using AI That's really going to help brands along. And that's why we do this monthly and we just added in the AI stuff. And is there any other news associated with some social stuff? I know you're all excited. Keep going.
Two more pieces that I'd love to hit if I get the time. So,
You get the time.
yes, we all heard, I'm not sure if it was this month or last month, but Adobe had put out their terms of services that they're taking all of the imagery that we're making on Adobe and using it to inform, that's not the word, it's not inform, it is, where is it?
Aggregate into their
Yeah.
screening data. All of the
Yeah, there is a word that they use though, and I wanted to be particular about it, but I'll find it in a sec. So and Meta is also doing the same thing. This month they announced that, and it is actually really hard to opt out of Facebook AI content. If you want to get out of it, you actually have to answer a form stating why you want to be not included in that to opt out, which is an extra step. So probably a lot of people won't even bother doing that. And then I'm not even sure if they approve it or how it works on their end, but that's one thing. And they are being sued by the European
Union.
Yeah. Although Google and OpenAI have already gone through being sued and organized with the European unions, they're not doing it. They're just doing it very particular. And then let's see here. So Facebook has faced 11 legal challenges in Europe. So we'll see how that organizes out. Interestingly enough, Facebook says that they want to do it differently than everyone else because they want to be transparent, but they don't even say they want to be better than anyone else. They just say that they want to be more transparent, but they don't say more transparent than what or who. So that'll be interesting to see what that is. So I feel like Facebook is constantly throwing the transparency word around. That's a big piece of its branding, which I find really intriguing because it's almost a concept less word. Like everybody has a different idea of what it means. It's not really grounded in any kind of definition or meaning on their part. So that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Just say before we jump off it, Adobe has actually already changed the TOS. So the TOS change that was in section 4.2 that you were referring to, it's already been updated. So they're back down, and they're not
Nice.
everyone's
Back
data.
down. Oh, that's good. Okay, well, I missed that. Okay, interesting.
So everybody knows, because I wanted to bring this up as well, was that the whole shady thing for the Adobe change of term was to have everybody accept, and so that it would give them the right to all of the works that are being produced on their platforms, and they could go in and they essentially owned rights to it as well, which is a massive for that industry, and really anybody who is trying to produce or do work for any of their clients.
Yeah.
It,
Because
they-
who owns it then, right? Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Whose contract trumps?
Yeah, they haven't integrated copyright law into this at all. I don't know who is the default copyright holder in the US, but in Canada, the producer is the copyright holder unless they've signed an agreement with an agency or a client. But it didn't always used to be like that. When I first started out in the arts, the copyright was owned by the person who paid for it to a certain extent, and it depended on what your work was being used for. But we never had that issue before, but then the copyright rules changed. I forgot when it was changed. It was in the 90s or something, where the default was always the producer. So the photographer or the graphic designer in particular, even if they're working for an agency. So unless there's an agreement in place. Yeah, because I'm always looking at, that's in my contractors. We always deal with that. If you're a freelancer or if you're an agency, you should have a piece about who owns the copyright to the work produced, so that you don't come up against problems. And usually what it is, people can resell things at a later date or use them there's one big designer, I forgot his name, but he did a retrospective exhibition of all of his work at the gallery. So he definitely owns all of his work. But if a company owned their work with him, then he wouldn't be able to put that into his retrospective. So it's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Aura's joined us. Hold on. Let me say what Aura's talked about. Disabled comments, bugger. If you missed the YouTube tips, go back and see those. Those are good ones. And then the 4.2 license to your content solely for the purpose of operating or improving the service and software. you grant us not again. Lots of interesting stuff that's very legal speakish. But this is something really to pay attention to, right? About like
Yeah, you
images,
can't.
video, and
Yeah, you can't. I actually just ran into someone taking images off the internet, thinking that because it was on a public space for her to view it, that she could just use those photos in her marketing. I was really quite gobsmacked a little
Shocked.
bit. There was still somebody in there, in the sphere that thought that was okay. Because when I asked, where did you get the photo and did you purchase a license for it or is it fine to use? That was the answer I got. I found it online. So that's not really specific. And
Oh,
so we're out there, people are still doing that. You do get a licensing, what they call, it's not really a fine. They can't call it a fine. It's called a retroactive license fee. And it's quite a lot. It's more than hiring. It's annoyingly high. It's way higher than what it would have cost you to buy the image in the first place. But it's just a little bit less than what it would cost to have a lawyer look at it for you and write you a letter. So
that was done on purpose.
yeah, exactly, totally. So people have to pay these things, and
Right.
it comes up from time to time.
Just
Well,
to be clear as well, the whole
yeah,
point of AI, it's an obfuscation machine for licensing and
yeah,
copyright. The whole purpose is that you put in a bunch of images, it goes into the AI thing, and then you ask it to spit out an image.
yeah,
It's supposed to obfuscate who actually created that image. That's why
yeah,
anytime they ask them, hey, where did you get all these images to feed this machine? And they stammer and they don't answer the question
yeah,
because
yeah,
what they want to do is just say, we just
yeah,
generate out of whole cloth out of taking all this. And so it's a new thing that doesn't have any copyright associated with it because they've already had
yeah,
one legal case go through where they
yeah,
had a completely
one.
generated comic and it was deemed that no one had the copyright to it by the court.
yeah, yeah. So that makes it even.
Interesting. Did you know, for just an aside with the AI stuff, there was a photography competition and it was backwards as to what won. It was an AI competition, and the photo that won was a guy that put in a real human photo. And so that human photo won. That tells you a bit about perspective. It's going to be very interesting for the psychology of things and the digital marketing. Ooh, Valen, you're doing a pip. What is going on? I saw that.
Yeah, that just grabbed
Like,
the wrong section of it for me. I was like, oh, that was great. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
I got a little maker out of that to me. What they're doing now? It's not me, buddy.
So
Not my computer.
on on a on a similar topic, there is Integrated Ad Science, which is a company, is working on a brand new safety tool designed to keep deep fake content away from ad content so that proximity is important for branding. When you think about putting your ads online, do we always know what our ads are going next to? I'm sure you've seen those ads at the bottom of kind of shady magazines where you read a good
Oh,
article,
yeah.
and bottom it's got terrible, they look
Ad.
like blog articles. Yeah, they're just awful. So this is going to
They look
help.
like spam.
Yeah, so this is going to help brands stay away from that, which is really great. And OpenAI has already started their own version of that too. So that's good. I'm encouraged about that. And because there's this one line that I got out of this that says most analysis say that issues of deepfake ad adjacency is likely to worsen in the coming years as generative AI becomes more widely available, which I agree with. Lots of deepfake stuff. And actually, interestingly enough, there's a bunch of ads that are just circulating on TikTok that were made by they're deep fakes and they're AI generated, and they are actual politicians making really outlandish
Claimed.
statements. Yes, they're making these awful
Oh, interesting.
and people are believing it because that looks like the person that they see on the news all the time. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
this is gonna be so messy. Election time is gonna be so messy.
It's going to be interesting with interfered. Go on. Sorry.
On that note, I was just going to say, I'm not sure if anybody else heard this news, but I had recently seen that it was found that a specific account, I believe it was, that was doing like pro-Trump propaganda was basically a Russian bot, and proof that it was taken down. But it just goes to show that people from anywhere can create these big accounts and bots and propagate whatever message they
I'm
want
great.
message to interfere with or sway people's votes or anything else for that agenda.
We're going to learn so much probably after the election, the American election, right? Just to see what's happened, because it sounds like deep fake. So what is the outcome? I know Phelan's going to jump in, but is don't believe what you read. Don't believe what you hear. Always take that experimental view of let me get more data, right?
Yeah.
Steven's got a question here after Rena. Go on.
You have to really understand what critical thinking actually means, and that is a methodology that has certain steps. So if you can only find an article in 3 places and you've never heard of those
Sources.
publications before, then chances are it's not real. That's usually fine. Okay.
Steven's wondering now, you mentioned
yeah.
that there's a question on who created the work as a freelancer versus
so-
agency. This is for Rena.
Yeah.
And when you consider the client, any ideas on who would own the work and,
So
and how
typically,
could that be argued?
it really depends on how agencies organize their contracts with their freelancers and with their clients. So generally speaking, it is custom for the agency to want the rights of ownership over the freelancer. And if they're paying well enough, that's the idea is that usually that's a leverage point for freelancers to charge a good amount. If you're working with the client, usually in the contract with the client, there's a section that tells the client how they can use it. Because, of course, if you're using any stock photography, which I know is not exactly what we're talking about right now, there's only a certain number of uses you can use that stock photography license for. So similarly, there's usually some parameters around what the client can use. So how many prints can they make? Like they can't just make 50 years of brochures with this one brochure. They're usually limited by print run, or they're limited by how they use it. So it could be that you would give a logo with the intention that they could, and you provide them with the files that they could use it anywhere. But if you're doing something that's more specific, the wording is usually around you're allowed to use this, the business is allowed to use it for its own marketing purposes. It's not allowed to use it for anything else. So they can't resell it to another business. They can't use it in an art show. They can't create a calendar or a table book.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Where
usually,
would people find this information?
I don't know. I had my lawyer write my piece up, but I'm sure that there are templates online that you could get some wording from and then have your legal representative, because of course we're in Canada and each province and each country is going to be slightly different on how they can do things and how they should say things. So you want to make sure that you've got that covered. What I would say, check a template.
Welcome to social media turning into politics and rules. Very interesting behind the scenes of all the things we need to know, right? Speaking of websites and images and then moving to website. Oh, Phelan, yeah.
Before we jump off that, we missed one piece that was in that I think is going to be super important for everyone going forward.
Okay.
Which is the FTC is suing Adobe.
Oh yeah, that was
over dark patterns, and which
Yeah.
is a big thing for.
Yeah.
So basically, a dark pattern is like you design the website so it leads you away from actually canceling your subscription. That's specifically what they went after them for.
Thank you, Amazon. Did Amazon get sued?
No, but
And
this is
also,
going to make
it
people like
probably was
Amazon.
for hiding their cancellation fees.
Yeah.
If you did want to cancel early, they bury that stuff so far and nobody ever knows about it. That's another reason that they're suing.
Yeah, it's all
Crazy.
It's all part of like dark. Basically, you're getting sued over dark patterns, like where and how that kind of comes to. That's why when legal experts were talking about this, they mentioned the dark patterns as being the more that this is going to be used as a means to go after other companies like Amazon, who's notoriously has a 14-step. You have to go through 14 pages to cancel your Amazon account. They're like the prototypical example.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like they will make you like, and they make the button to like cancel, like to not cancel, so big, and then the other one to actually move forward with the cancel is like really small,
Yeah.
like part of the text, and so
Yeah.
like all the, so really, what's important about it in my mind is not necessarily Adobe, but the government can go after companies for doing that, and that opens
Yeah.
up the Pandora's box that hey, you can't actually, all these bad behaviors that they've been doing, that they actually are going to be, taken down. And it goes back to what you said about the Facebook and making it these extra steps to canceling. Now they're like being sued over it, and now they're being forced to actually comply with not having these
Yeah.
dark patterns and making it easy for people. These are going to be things that I think is going to be a real go for a lot of these big companies that have been used to doing it their own way of having these dark pattern people. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to really emphasize it.
I totally agree because I had 2 Amazon accounts. I thought they were the same because they had the same password, and I thought it was one account, but you could flip between shopping in US and shopping in Canada. It turns out I was paying for Prime on both accounts for quite some time, and it took me forever to detangle that situation because I thought I was getting charged twice, and of course I wasn't, and so it is purposefully up until hopefully this will change, but it's purposefully opaque on how you do any of this, how you set things up. You're just usually wizard through things with that front, and then you can't find how to get out of it. It's frustrating.
Yeah,
It is. Right.
intentional how they do that stuff of that they are doing these things in order to get you to walk down the primrose path, and you don't even realize
Yeah.
like you didn't want to go down that path. You actually wanted to detour slightly.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really sketchy that you can have more than one account with like emails. Like you can actually I think I had 2 different, I don't know, because what, not just Amazon, it's also Audible does the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah. I know
Like,
that. um, Exactly.
right? And
Okay.
who doesn't have more than one email, and who doesn't have more than one Audible or Amazon account? And I will tell you, yeah, it's all a mess out there with these big companies screwing you, nickel and diming you a little bit, right?
I
Uh,
I did get 2 Audible accounts merged. You can do that, just in case anyone's wondering.
ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like? I'd really like Audible and Google Books to like work together.
Yeah.
We all work together, be friends. Do we have yeah? Do we have any website update?
I was gonna mention the fact that there was a security release just in the last week that people probably had their site automatically uploaded, the new updated to the new version. But the bigger thing was the next release of WordPress 6.6, which is scheduled for next month on the 16th currently. And that's the one that a lot of people are excited for, that has updated patterns and the ability to, my brain fart is forgetting what they referred to as editable
Brain
patterns.
shoot.
Or, anyways, you can create patterns, but you can only lock the design aspect of it and allow customers to change the content part of it. Currently, patterns are patterned and they're locked, and you can't change anything about them unless you unlock them, and then they're not part of the pattern anymore. They're a separate item. Oh, it's called partial pattern thing. So now you can create a pattern and have certain parts of it locked, so the design stays how designers design it, but the clients can insert this pattern all over the place and change the content that they need to change within it. But then if you want to change the design or change the color in it, it will still be able to be changed and flow across all of the distinct patterns, but not affect the content that the customer has used in wherever they've used it.
Oh, that's terrific. I love that.
I think we're
That's a major
gonna
thing
need some
for
inspiration.
distinct patterns, because what I like, designers like myself and Rena's team, we're going to be able to create the patterns for customers that have a specific look, that when they're building out their sites, say they have a team page, and we create a card for the way the person's bio headshot look, and then their name and whatever other details you have. And this card is used everywhere on their site. So that's created as a synced pattern. They can get a new team member, throw in that synced pattern, change the name and the image and what they need, but the style of everything stays the same. And if you change it in the future, everything will change except for the content that they use. But the power of that is going to be really good, because we have access to help our clients keep their sites more consistent in the design by creating these patterns that they can just throw in and keeps the site a lot nicer and allows them to change
Wow.
the content, but doesn't they don't have to worry about the design.
I'd like to know
That's
something.
win.
Will it be responsive to the amount of text that they put in? So let's say we create a nice little small box that we want to fit on this part of the page, and we've got a couple other things over here. And they take that piece and then they have 3
They
times to put in. Is it going to go all the way down, or will it constrain them to uh,
It
word
probably
numbers?
won't constrain them.
Okay.
They will need to adhere to these. Like if, for instance, if it's that bio team page kind of a thing, and they have a certain amount of text underneath each person's bio, they need to understand that they can't just write 5 paragraphs of stuff.
Maybe
It's not going to stop them from being stupid like that. But
maybe it'll give you know how with blog posts you have to read more and then it opens up further.
well, it all really depends on how we design the blocks, what the constraints are. But you could have a block that you design and put in half a column, but you could also put that block in a full column and have it go full, like it could be good, less of a width than full width, but it'll look the same. So it'll be like, it really depends on how you build each of these blocks.
Yeah, because to my
Right.
mind,
Right.
if you set a fixed, like, this is only going to be 100 pixels versus 100%. If you do a percentage, it's just going to match to whatever the text is that you put in, right? It's just going to keep filling in. Whereas if you just give it a fixed amount, then it's just going to be the fixed amount. So I think that how people
Interesting.
work around it is they're going to put in percentages rather than.
It'll be really good for the types of sites where you have the same bits of content that you want on multiple pages, but maybe change
Mhm.
like wording of. It'll be really good for
Oh.
that kind of a thing.
That sounds great. Okay, we are cutting off, people. We are out of time and we have not touched on search, which is really interesting because Phelan and I are actually going to do a separate live probably this weekend about the algorithm leak from Google because it's a whole thing. Google Ads changed a bunch of stuff on their interface. We'll talk more about that next week. And what are we talking about next week? There's a spam update. There's lots to go into search, but we'll get more into that. There's also some big news coming up about our Facebook group and what we're going to be doing on Fridays with interviews. We're going to be interviewing business owners and other marketers, see their secret. So stay tuned for that. Next week, do we know who is doing the chat?
Yeah. It's you and Phelan next week talking about Google Ads and actually what everybody needs to know.
Yeah. So that'll be great with the new update. So
It sounds like more
just
than
wanna say-
covered.
it's only half hour. That's all there's time for. But there's so many changes, right, in this market. It's so much. So stay tuned. Join us next week, Thursday, inside the Facebook group or on LinkedIn or our Facebook business page or YouTube. We are around and we are happy. We all connect and communicate in the Facebook group, Cyberpunk Geeks, Marketing Mixer, but there are other places to connect with each of us. And last thing, Aura told us that Professional Photographers of Canada, DAPIC, have some templates for the user contract. So what Rena was talking about earlier.
Yes. Process. Thanks, Aura.
Awesome. Yeah. And anybody with any links or anything about stuff we talked about, we'll try to share them in the chat. Dylan, you're going to say something? No, just looking beautiful. All right. I can't wait to be home in my spot near Phelan. And I love seeing you guys. I can't wait to see. We're a little cohort. And just a big shout out. I want to do a big shout out to someone we all know who's very dear to us. Dora, just putting it out there that you're a rock star. We can't wait to see you on Friday, maybe, if you're coming to Rena's. Anyway, we'll talk soon. Okay, bye, everybody.
Hi, Ron.
Bye.